time it is? You know, right? It's 6 o'clock on a Friday, 7 Central European, and it's time for the Powerbotch Podcast. Hello, my name's John. I think you might have known that by now if you've watched this long enough, and I'm joined by, well, the Triple F, the fried one, the one formerly known as Fried Chicken Special. I don't know what he goes by half the time. He changes it every week, but we have Fried. How are you doing, Fried?
Hello. Doing wonderful because I can be on this fantastic episode of the Powerbotch Podcast with you.
Brought to you by no wait, not brought to us by anything. We're not sponsored at all. But hope you've had a good week though, Fried. Sorry for all the insanity so far.
No, dude. I think what you were getting at is how much, we've been doing this for 16 episodes now, and I feel like we've become a great team of doing this show. Like we're almost like a great tag team, I get the ball rolling, you keep on with it, we score a goal. That's how tag team wrestling works, right?
It's kind of like I'm taking a hit sometimes and I have to tag you in. You get that hot tag and you slam the topic down. Finally got there.
Because we've got the top 10 best tag teams up to the year 2010 later on in the show. And we've got the news, we've got Dynamite, all 2 episodes of it. So how about we start with a bang and talk about Dynamite?
Let's get into late night Dynamite. Bit of a weird fur affair, if you ask me. I would say it was a mixed bag of nonsense. It kind of felt like, I'm going to sound a bit awful here. It felt like Dark with higher production.
Yeah, well, it was. I think they taped it along with Dark because there was no crowd there, was there?
Yeah, there was no crowd, and that's a good point to make because Jericho comes out. We have the Judas going on. He looks to the crowd for singing. They don't exist yet. Jericho, calm down. They're not there. They're not there. But sure, we have him on. We have him on commentary this week. We have him on commentary this week for Late Night Dynamite, not for main Dynamite.
He was supposed to be on the main Dynamite this week, but I guess because they had to rewrite the show, he wasn't on, right?
Yeah. Well, he had that one segment on main show, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, but I think he was announced to be on commentary. I think they even announced him on Late Night Dynamite, but let's get into this when we get there.
Yeah, let's do it. So our first match, we'll just kind of get for it. We'll do it for quick and dirty, like the back alley prostitute that I buy every Wednesday night. But anyway, it's time to talk about the Ben Carter versus Scorpio Sky match. Fried, what do you think?
It was a really great match, very competitive at that. They must have had a high opinion of Ben Carter. They featured him on Dark, gave him a win even there. So they must have a high opinion of Ben Carter.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. Like, his in-ring work, like, going for the match is kind of like going, I've never seen this fellow before, and I had a feeling he might have been on Dark, but, I am guilty of skipping Dark because Dark doesn't necessarily inspire much hope unless I know it's like 2 main roster tag teams going at each other or 2 main roster individuals going together. I tend to skip most of it. I don't need to watch Jobber, the show. But like I was watching this, I was kind of like going, okay, this guy can go. And like this guy ain't just like taking it like any Jobber. He's giving it to Scorpio. I was quite impressed with it. A few things stood to me. That roundhouse dodge, like at the end where like he was doing the roundhouse and just Scorpio dodged every single time. And I was like, what the hell? What is this Superman? Not Superman, Spider-Man shit going on here. I was really into that. I was like, oh, I kind of popped a little bit. I was like, all right, let's do this.
So next up was the Randy Rhodes versus Anna Jay match. I was kind of excited about this match, not because of the wrestling quality, but because I talked myself into that we will have great story development there. Because of all the Cody, Brody Lee stuff going on. Match was of the quality you would expect from a Brandy Rhodes match. Although I did notice, did she work on her punches? I feel like she threw better punches this week.
I feel like she's throwing a little bit more behind her, giving a little bit more mustard, right? It's kind of like a seasoned batter in the middle of a baseball game has got a little bit of spunk in his shoe and he's giving it some, or maybe in his arm. I don't know what the fucking analogy is. I don't play no baseball. But you know what I mean? A bit of mustard behind the throw.
Yeah, but all the storytelling it came down to was that a Grayson comes out, but Uno holds him back for whatever reason. That distracts the ref, so he doesn't count the pin, and NJ eventually locks in the Queen Slayer.
Which is like just a really, really aggressive rear naked choke.
It's a coquina clutch.
Yeah, pretty much. I had one complaint about it though. She waited way too long to like cinch in her legs. I feel like she should have maybe like done a quick jump, cinched in her legs, and then taken Brandy down with her.
Yeah.
I feel like that would have been a more effective and slightly more aggressive approach to it. But not a bad move anyway. It kind of, it's its namesake and it done its job. So
Slight nitpick. I want them to change the name of the move to Queen Slayer, because every time they say it, I hear Michael Cole in my ear. The King Slayer!
Oh god, yeah.
So
I didn't even factor that in. Just the idea of that there is like oof. Big fucking oof.
Brandy doesn't tap, but she passes out in the move. NJ wins.
Quick question. Do you think that makes Brandy stronger or weaker for that finish?
As I will argue later on in the show, I must say consistent makes her look stronger.
Okay, just curious.
I mean,
it's not I wasn't trying to trap or anything. It's just it's a very diverse opinion online that people don't know if that's a stronger or a weaker approach to things. And it's on the IWC, it's kind of like it's a bit of a weird one, a polarizing one sometimes I see.
Yeah. I feel like the prime example people bring up concerning this finish is a Bret Hart, Steve Austin, the double turn when Austin doesn't tap on the sharpshooter but passes out in his own blood. That was a really great finish. So I feel like, it's a good finish.
I was just told to higher my voice there. I just made the adjustments on the console. Hopefully that's better now, guys. Didn't think my voice was that low, if I was honest, but sure.
It looked fine on my end, but you never know.
Never know. I'm just going to try and be careful out there. I don't want to get our audio too muddy, because that can happen sometimes. It's not ideal. But yeah, no. It is one of those ones. It's very polarizing. I can see how it does make people look stronger, because it's kind of like the whole thing. You're so weak because you tapped out. You didn't just try and like fight out of it. More like the idea if you pass out, it's almost like the valiant attempt to not succumb to it. I get that.
Yeah.
But some people then also preface that as like, well, you're weak because you passed out. You weren't strong enough to do that, and that's a stupid man's move. You should have lived to fight another day.
Yeah, for the sport to proper work, you should probably fight for like a minute before you pass out. Like if you pass out after 10 seconds, I can get why people think that makes you look weak.
Yeah, and that's the thing I was wondering about that there, because again, it was an interesting finish. Wow. The way I said finish there sounded weird. Finish? No, not the country, the act. But anyway, then we have the last match, which was Matt Sydal versus Sean Spears. I thought that was a solid match, not a bad match. I did like the part where Matt wiped down the turnbuckle to make sure he didn't slip again. I was like, okay, he's thinking right. He's thinking sensibly here. We can't fault him there. So I
was kind of curious about this match when it was announced, because you have the new signee versus Sean Spears, who they have been building up on Dark a lot. They gave him the loaded glove and stuff like that. That's kind of one of his, if not his first match on Dynamite since the revamp of his character. So who is going over? I was actually kind of hoping that Sean Spears would go over because of all the build-up they've been doing, but conventional wrestling booking is you put the new guy over, right?
Yeah, and this is the thing as well. Like, out of curiosity, did you say he's been signed? Do we know if Matt Sydal's under full contract now, or?
That's a great question. I don't recall.
Because I think that is interesting that they put a non-contracted worker on Dynamite, technically. Because we have to treat this as Dynamite. This was framed as a Dynamite.
Yeah.
So that is interesting.
One way interesting thing about this, I know it's Matt Sydal's third eye gimmick, but every time he was pointing at his head, I was just thinking one of the Brainbusters is outside of the ring. That's kind of awkward.
Just a little bit of throw over to we were wondering if Mr. Tully Blanchard was still with Sean Spears. He is. Which
I mean, if you had been watching Dark, you would know that.
I mean, sure, but like you always call into question, Sean Spears is the MacGuffin in this whole scenario.
The red herring.
Yeah, well, red herring MacGuffin is just a different word for the same thing.
It's not.
A MacGuffin? Like a
Yeah,
weird... I thought it was.
a MacGuffin is just a plot device that exists for furthering the story. A red herring is a false lead.
I feel like both of those extend the story in some way, though. I feel like it's kind of the same thing, but we'll not get into that. We got the rest of Dynamite to talk about.
Oh no, it's the Story Writing 101 podcast.
Well, let's get into it then. So I read a small novel called Me and My Fox called Ben. No, I did not. I don't have the ability to write well. I'm dyslexic. But anyway, we're going to get into main Dynamite now, though. The following night, we got Wednesday Night Dynamite. We start off with like what I was really looking forward to, which was the in-ring debut of Mr. Miro. But sadly, I would say sadly, and it is sadly, in tag team spectacle with Kip and versus Joey and Sonny. I say sadly because I want to see him just be dominant in the ring the whole time, where this wasn't necessarily the case. It's just quite a weird match, if you ask me.
But I think you announced their opponents wrong. They have a new tag team name. Didn't you hear that? They're the new Midnight Express.
I was aware of the news of the new Midnight Express, and I decided to not call them the new Midnight Express based on some
new.
I knew. The new. But the only reason I decided not to was because of the, we'll just call it slightly troubling legal scenario that could put us in, and I don't want to. I could piss off Jim Cornette enough. I'd rather not piss him off with lawyers, you know. But yes, it was a strange match, if you ask me. I don't know if it's the way I would have wanted to see him debut.
Well, you have to admit, when he came out there in his new ring gear, showing off how fucking beefy this guy has become. He has athletic girth, like, to the max, through the roof. Athletic girth out of his ears.
He is a big, beefy, athletic, girthy boy. Yeah. Like, my God, the triceps and like, on him are just like, what the hell? Where did they come from?
He looks as wide as he is tall.
I think he legit could be as like broad as like Brock Lesnar in his prime now. Like he's going that way. I'm kind of looking at him going like, son, WWE has squandered you in the wrong way, which is obvious. But I was kind of like looking at it going like, why did they let you go?
We all asked ourselves the same questions, yeah. But
yeah.
I was kind of intrigued by Miro working heel there. I think, like most of fans, I would have wanted to see him work face.
I think this is purely because of who he's debuted with, where I feel that the Kip stuff is gonna be his lead in to turn face at some point, because he will then turn on Kip, or something's going to happen and Kip's going to do something stupid or say something, and Miro's going to go, well, now I'm going to wreck you, you know. Yeah. So I feel like that's coming. I feel like it's there. We're just waiting for it. But the match itself had a bit of an issue, though. It looks like, and it was confirmed later today, that Miro did tweak his ankle a bit on a bit of a kind of like a botch on the outside as he was coming down from the side of the ring. He kind of tweaked his ankle a little bit. So there was a little minor injury in there. But like overall, not a bad match. I've seen the IWC don't like this match too much, and I think it's more relating to Joey and Sonny and the stuff that's come off the back of Mr. Cornette's endeavors. But I thought it was a good match overall. I wouldn't say it was the best match in the world. Like, kind of, again, I want to see him singles action, given it singles, you know. But sure, I'll take anything I can get right now.
Yeah. And Miro soldiered through to the end. The finishing sequence, you wouldn't know that he was injured earlier. What a professional guy he is. Awesome. It's
one of those ones when you're in the ring, you just get done, don't you? There's no two ways about it. It's like you're not going to be a Sin Cara and throw up the X for a broken finger, you know? Yeah. Or it wasn't even a broken finger. It was a dislocated like baby finger or something like that.
Something like that.
Something he got a lot of crap for anyway. But yeah, we I saw like a massive pump kick, and then obviously Mr. Jim Ross getting his name wrong of this new finisher, the Game Over. He called it the Accolade, but he basically done the Cobra Clutch. I think it's called the Cobra Clutch, isn't it? Right. Yeah. Cobra Clutch. Is it the Cobra Clutch? Yeah, it is, but he's called it the Game Over, and then we have a definitive win. I have my notes, just what a guy.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing more of Miro. Hopefully in a singles run.
Quite soon.
And a bit more story. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
But that's not all what happened. Do you want to tell us what happened next?
I think let's skip the promo for now and talk about it later.
Okay, we can do that. Then we got the Evil Uno versus Hangman Page match.
With Kenny Omega on commentary again. And just like last week's match, this match was proposed as a tag team match, Adam Page and Kenny Omega versus Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. But Kenny declined to have the match. He also asked to be removed from the tag team rankings, which shook up the rankings a little bit. Interesting developments there.
Yeah. You were saying to me earlier, it's now put Butcher and Blade onto the rankings then now with that change.
Yeah, over Santana and Ortiz, no less.
Yeah, who have been quite active on Dynamite this last wee while, which is interesting. But sure,
they've been losing a bit. They have been losing quite a bit.
They have been kind of at odds with Best Friends, getting the worst for it on officially like refed matches. Yeah, like that is true. In those officiated matches, they have been doing a bit worse. But
then again, we looked into it earlier today. Butcher and Blade have not had a 2-on-2 tag team win on Dynamite this year. All of their tag team wins that actually count towards the ranking have come from beating mostly jobbers on Dark. They beat SCU, they beat Private Party and the Initiative, but the 6 other wins were against jobbers. So take the ranking with a grain of salt, maybe. Anyway, back to the match.
You want to take us through it, or?
Yeah. Sure. Just like last week, Kenny Omega doing the storytelling on commentary during the match. Even again, he repeats the same spot when Uno hits a big swanton. Kenny is, did he get him? Like he was almost a little bit giddy, right? He just wants to see.
I thought he was less though. I thought he was like more reserved with it though. Like every comment he made last week was super snide, like turnaround, where I felt like he pulled back on it a little bit. He's definitely still had it like that there, but it wasn't every comment he made was super snide.
Interesting. I didn't feel that. I felt like he was at the same level. Interesting. Let's see where this is going then, I guess. But yeah, match was really solid match. A solid Hangman Page match. Evil Uno solid in the ring as well. Had some cool spots. Like this incredible deadlift bridging fallaway slam from Adam Page. Like, ooh. That was sexy.
I was kind of looking at that going like, he's becoming my favorite wrestler. This is getting bad.
And yeah, he wins with a buckshot lariat. Another talking point maybe about this match is Kenny keeps declining those tag team matches, and he wants to become a singles wrestler, but Adam Page gets the singles matches, right? Why doesn't Kenny step in and say, hey, I want the singles match?
That is a great point, because they could then rotate it each week, and each person goes on commentary, and you get like both halves of that coin of a story.
Exactly. So I'm thinking this is intentional. This is by design.
Right. Okay. So what do you think the payoff is then with that?
I mean, Page is building up a singles record right now. Page could be ranked in the near future. And Kenny is sitting on the sidelines while Adam Page is doing what he has set out to do.
And that could create the tension with Kenny going, how dare you take my matches?
Yeah.
Okay.
How dare you take my spotlight, basically.
Interesting. Yeah. Interesting indeed. Wow, okay. Yeah, I didn't even think of it. That's a good call. That's a really good call. Follow up from that there, though, obviously. We have Kenny leaving before Hangman goes, keeping up that little bit of odd tension. And then we go to the Young Bucks. And that was an interesting segment from the Young Bucks. Obviously, Tony Schiavone looking a little bit a bit scared there. But like, you know, I was kind of like ready to jump there as well. But I thought it was handled pretty well. This like feels like the most justified I've seen the Young Bucks in weeks. Like, I'm finally like, I'm not excusing their actions, but at least I can now understand their motive a bit better. Like, I think I already did understand their motive, but it's just nice to hear it come from their mouth now. Like, there's this, it's good that verbiage is happening. Like, they're unhappy, they've got cheated, they've been doing nothing but right by everyone, and this is what's landed them. Like, how is that fair? And I get it. Like, I can see that. I can resonate with that there. I'm just glad we're now starting to hear it from them as well.
Yeah.
And then there was obviously that hilarious moment where Matt grabs the phone, smashes it, tries to give Tony a ludicrous sum of money. Like, I was looking at it, he was just counting hundreds, and then just like throws it in the air, and I was just going like, okay. Pretty decent side segment, I guess you could cover that there. And then we go to the match that I still just don't understand.
Yeah, last week we talked about the why does Orange Cassidy get a TNT title match? Like, after the big feud with Chris Jericho meant to elevate him, why do they presumably feed him to Brody Lee right now? But what did you think about the match?
Very one-sided for the most part. Like, Brody seemed to really have like everything over there, and I didn't like it because I was worried, like we said last week, we were worried that it's going to take the shine off Orange, and I worried this did. I worried that this just kind of took a bit of a shine off him a little bit, and it's not to say he can't reapply that shine. Like, don't get me wrong, he had like a bit of a crazy comeback, but at the end of the day, Brody just gets pissed off and just absolutely just takes him out. You know, it's like he's done toying with him.
I feel like when OC hits the air raid crash, that was the moment where I kind of like bought in to him winning just for a second, and I was like, there's no way Orange Cassidy's winning the title here. But, you know, hitting the much larger man with such a move, that was awesome.
That was cool, I'll give you that. That was really cool. And I guess you
hold on a second, because I don't know if you know how large Brody Lee is. Did you hear what JR said about him?
No.
I grew up on a farm. I can judge the weight of livestock.
Oh my god! One thing we can say is that we can give it to Orange. He did get a little bit of like interference on his side taken away from him. I mean, like, John Silver got involved quite a bit, so I guess it wasn't really a fair one-on-one match. I mean, John Silver takes a hell of an orange punch. But, you know, so I guess you could say that some of the shine was left on Orange because it was an unfair set of odds stacked against him, I guess. But, like, they could have done this with anyone else. They could have done this with anyone else. It didn't have to be Orange because, as we see in the post-match angle, like, Orange didn't factor into it. It could have been anyone. Yeah. But we do have the post-match angle. Yeah, it could have been Matt Cardona, and that would have made more sense.
Yeah.
That would have made 10 times more sense. Jesus.
I mean, it wouldn't, because he's an unranked guy who hasn't really any singles wins, so why would he get a title match? But
I guess it's more of a Brody's kind of like, I'm going to dismantle your family while you're gone.
Yeah, in that kind of way. I mean, he beat Dustin a couple of weeks ago, so
yeah.
Anyway, let's get to the big segment after the match.
Do you want to go for it or should I? I'm excited though.
Well, take us away.
Let me pitch you a word picture. We hear the ominous noise, a very, very forlorn intro that I have yet to hear in some time. 5 weeks specifically. I'm sure Freed was pretty excited by it too. And we hear the commentary going ahead and going like, look, it's just music until we see something. And I'm like, thank God they said that. You know how many times like it has their music's played and it means nothing? I like the fact that JR was just like, and then until you see something, it's just music.
And
I like that.
And then JR kills the mood.
Yeah. I kind of liked it though. I kind of liked it. It was kind of written in expectations. So that in my head the pop would be bigger, I guess, you know? But we then see like a very different version of the intro though. Like the lighting is so different, the graphics are darker, blood red, and Cody comes out just in a beautiful black suit. Lovely sort of like pocket watch there. I think it was a pocket watch or maybe some sort of medallion. Beautiful black suit. He comes down, absolutely rinses John Silver.
Dude, you didn't mention the most important part. He dyed his hair black.
Oh, well, that's true. He dyed his hair black, which I think is probably... We've seen it brown, we've seen it blonde, but this was pitch black. But he comes down, he just levels John Silver. Get off that feckin' ramp, ya ba.
Yeah.
And then he just absolutely lays in to 5. Brody, rest of the guys, gone without a trace.
Yeah.
Absolute cowards. But
that was a vicious beatdown. Vicious, I tell you.
Vicious. Like the way he done to his legs and then they arch in that figure forward. Like, goddamn. Goddamn. But I have to ask you, Freed, because it's the title of the stream. Did Cody or is Cody turning heel? Do you think this is a heel turn?
Did you surely did see that AEW registered for a new trademark this week, Blood Brothers? When I read that, I was thinking, yeah, that's Cody and Dustin.
I heard about the registered trademark. I don't know who the other person could be. Who do you think?
Yeah, the Cody and Dustin.
Oh, you think it'd be Cody and Dustin?
Yeah, the Blood Brothers. Just think back to the match at was it Double or Nothing?
Was that when he was like basically a crimson mask, like more blood than anything? Yeah.
And I think they could be teaming up right now to take out the Dark Order.
That's interesting.
That could be what a Blood Brothers is pertaining as, but that's a shot in the dark.
You know what? You say that, but the graphic as well did have a version of the American Nightmare symbol in blood. So it's not to say you're far off the mark. I would be just interested to see what that looks like. And like, does that mean they entered the tag team division as a tag team?
Could be. Or because you have to keep in mind that the Blade is supposed to sort out his house, meaning QT Marshall and Ellie. So the National Nightmares might split up in the wake of that.
That's fair. That's true. Do you think this is a heel turn, though, for Mr. Cody?
I was getting there. It was my roundabout way of getting there. I actually don't think so. I think the story they're chatting is that when the Dark Order took out Cody Rhodes, he thought to himself, I have to become more vicious. I have to become a darker version of myself to compete with this behemoth of a man who took me out without me ever getting a shot in.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. Like, some people called it a heel turn, and I've been like, you don't put a heel on a heel. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, heel versus heel matches don't work. And Brody is heel. He is not a babyface now. Nothing he has done is sunshine, rainbows, lollipops, and fecking kittens. He is still a bad man.
If Cody attacks Mike Ponzi next week, he is either a heel or a Matt Hardy. So.
That's true. It's a whole new definition of characters. So you're turning face this week, turning heel. No, I'm turning Hardy. I like that.
Oh my.
Oh my. But yeah, I feel like that is as well. I feel like we're just going to see a more callous, more aggressive, more sinister version of Cody. I would say it's more tweener than heel. I feel like he will be the babyface that just does the things you don't expect the babyface to do to take down the opponent. But it's still very much him going after heels. I feel like that's where we're at with it. And
absolutely,
I'm hoping that he continues these amazing suits, because when I saw a new suit, I was like, damn, he looked good. Damn, he looked really good in that suit, you know?
Yeah, he did. To be fair, he did.
I was like, the baby blue suits need to go back in the wardrobe for another 2 years. We're going to rock the black suits.
So after the match, Brody takes the mic from Dasha backstage. Yeah, he mentions the audacity of Cody Rhodes. Brody has been putting in the work while Cody was nowhere to be seen. He left Dynamite for 5 weeks while Brody was keeping the show together, basically. And did you catch the James Storms reference? Possibly.
I didn't even know.
He says, "You can run on for a long time, but sooner or later, I will cut you down." It's the theme song of James Storm.
I did not know that.
You can run on for a long time. You can run on, but you can't. I can't sing. I don't know if that means anything, but NWA, AEW working together. James Storm is currently in NWA, or
Apparently.
rather, he isn't. He doesn't have a contract anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
He is now technically a free agent.
Yeah, but I don't know if that means anything. It's just a cool saying anyway. But
I'll be interested to see how that works.
Yeah, and then Brody Lee brings out the dog collar, and he challenges Cody to a dog collar match because then Cody doesn't have a place to run anymore.
You know what? Leave it to Cody to bring back the real old school WCW style match stipulations.
Dude, the best version of this match I have ever seen, I believe, was the what was it called? Texas Bull Rope match. Eddie Guerrero and JBL.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. God, that
was a good version of that match.
That was a great version of that match. That was an amazing version of that match. It is very just an old school wrestling style match though. I'm all for it. I love these types of matches. Just don't bring in a shark pen, and we're all good. If the shark pen comes out, I'm turning off.
You just know in the dog collar match, someone will get hanged over the top rope with the collar.
Someone's going to get pulled into the pillar as well. There's going to be some expected spots.
Yeah.
And I'm going to call it right now. If there's a pull into the pillar, it will be a blade job. There's going to be a lot of blood with that, I think. Let's be honest. So I'm calling that now. But great segment though.
Yeah, let's go to the next segment.
We have the Matt Hardy segment, which is pretty much private party with him. He's talking about this. He's talking about the idea of him being attacked by someone. Who could it have been? He felt metal. He felt a bat. He felt something. But obviously, alludes to Mr. Jericho showing up afterwards with Mr. Floyd in hand. Believes it's Mr. Jericho. We're then joined by the Inner Circle, who come to confront him on his unscrupulous decisioning reasons. That's probably a terrible way I could have worded that, but I don't care. And then we were led to believe that Sammy...
You were working in your broken self. Unscrupulous!
No, I'm not capable of such magnificence. But no, we were led to believe that Sammy Guevara wasn't around. I wasn't aware he wasn't around. And that kind of took me off guard. It's like, and then he appears. And I'm like, oh, you're back, but I didn't know you were gone.
I hated that because this is basically ignoring the all-out finish. They're continuing from how it should have went. I feel like,
yeah,
because the spot at All Out doesn't justify putting him on the shelf for a couple of weeks.
No, it really didn't. It really did not. No. And then, sure enough, he starts saying it wasn't him. He's saying it wasn't. If he was going to hit him with a pipe or a bat, he would do it to his face because he wants to see he wants him to see it happen.
Yeah.
He takes joy in that. Then we have some stuff where Mark Quenn's going to step up to the field and take on Jericho, but then Isaiah Cassidy can't have that. He steps forward. He's like, no, I'm going to take him on, which then makes it look like Jericho's next project is Isaiah Cassidy, of all people.
Let's see where this is going. Could just be a feud with a private party, Matt Hardy, to give all of them something to do. A couple of things about the promo. When Isaiah Cassidy says, what if a 23-year-old kid from streets of Brooklyn beats a legend? That's just the Orange Cassidy promo he cut a couple of weeks back, isn't it?
Kind of is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. What if you lose to the guy who has his hands in his pockets? It's just the same logic.
Yeah. That's a little bit transparent.
I didn't like that, and I feel like, good effort, but I feel like they should take one or two more promo classes. It's great they get out there, they get the experience, but they have some of the best talkers in the industry in AEW. They surely can learn a thing or two from them.
Yeah, like you have a lot of people backstage, like their coaches, like they're pretty much their producers and stuff should be able to walk them through that. I mean, you could even put Jericho on a class at some point because Jericho is one of the best talkers there. But you're not wrong. I guess they're doing it. I feel like they're trying to create the model so it's not too like WWE, where they're not like having loads of like, because like WWE with their NXT do have like, it almost feels like a university they go to because they have a lot of classes for each subject of wrestling, which is great because it will build a wrestler, but it also builds a generic wrestler that turns out the same product every single damn time.
Also, WWE teaches you to read off a script, while AEW doesn't do that. They give you bullet points at that.
Yeah. So I feel like, there's definitely something to be gained from maybe a little bit of like, maybe just a little bit of like more collaboration with these older guys. Maybe try and like say, okay, what are you going to say? How are you going to say it? Like, okay, here's a few ideas.
Doesn't have to be the older guys. You've got MJF, who's a great promo. Ricky Starks is a good promo. You've got non-wrestlers hanging around like Taz, for example.
Yeah.
There's enough talent around to go.
Maybe make it a bit more. I don't know if it's not. It probably is already collaborative, but maybe just kind of work on that aspect a little bit more. Definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, in a later segment, Chris Jericho answers Isaiah's challenge, and he will destroy Isaiah Cassidy next week. But who should walk in frame? Huh? Who should walk into the frame?
Why don't you tell us?
MJF walks up to him. Says the disrespect that Chris Jericho was just experiencing is just deplorable. Like, my notes say they polish each other's knob a bit.
You're not wrong.
And then they finish by saying both at the same time, so why'd you call me a loser a couple of weeks ago?
I like the continuity on that.
Yeah, I like that. And they come up with excuses. MJF was calling the limo driver a loser because they almost killed the two biggest stars. And Jericho was calling Tony Schiavone a loser. Both have a laugh because Tony Schiavone. It's funny. I love Tony. Great comedic timing. So, so they make up. Of course, callback again to last week when MJF said, "Oh, he needs to find a faction." So possibly there's a story with him. You know, I'm thinking Viper and the family with the Inner Circle. Could be, or it's just keep the plate spinning. I personally don't want to see MJF get friendly with the Inner Circle. I'd rather have him do his own thing.
I'd rather him be satellite to it, not necessarily in it, if you know what I mean. Like let him be in the satellite of it, just not an actual member of the Inner Circle. I agree with you. He's so much. He doesn't need a faction. He doesn't. Or if he's going to have one, he needs to be something. He needs to be the head of it. He needs to elevate everyone with him. Because if he goes in there with Jericho, it is going to be like two great talkers almost trying to talk over each other, and it won't work.
Yeah. Anyway, it was a great promo. So, like always, those two guys are some of the best talkers in the business.
Yeah, it's stunning, especially for the age of MJF as well. Like he's like 24 or something. Like crazy. We have FTR next, which was an interesting.
Is he a loser?
What?
Tony Schiavone, he's such a loser. He's in the ring with them.
I was wondering where you were going at for a second. Like, oh yeah, he was in the ring with them. You caught me off guard there. But yes, it's like, what was so funny about FTR? It's like, I was going to say with a loser. They're talking about the 20-minute brush of greatness. What the hell? But this is kind of like a reverse open challenge. They don't necessarily make it an open challenge. They just pick people they want to fight, people they think they can beat, essentially. We have SCU being picked as the first people to have the brush of greatness.
Can you explain the rules to us?
Basically, the 20 minutes brush of greatness is going to be a tag team match with 20 minutes, if I remember correctly, to basically get the pinfall to win. Strict rules, I imagine, as well. Strict tag team rules because, They operate with the highest amount of professionalism, of course.
Yeah.
But like it's more. It does seem like a bit more of a reverse open challenge where they pick the people.
You didn't pick up on the most important thing about this.
Did I not?
Yeah, it's a title match with a 20-minute time limit, yes, instead of 60 minutes. But the important thing is, if it's a draw, FTR gets the win. And that's the heel move. You can give FTR 20 minutes of awesome matches against the best tag teams they can find. And they can go to a time limit draw, which sucks, but keeps all the future, like, potential feuds, like, going, because we didn't get the finish here. We did a great match. We didn't get the finish. And FTR can claim, yeah, we beat them, because those are the rules we outlined.
Oh, I didn't even click onto that. That's interesting. Although that'll have to be done sparingly, because could you imagine every week it went to a 20-minute timeout? I would just get bored. I'd be like, well, I know what to expect now.
I mean, I'm sure they will beat someone as clean as FTR can beat another team.
Yeah. They picked SCU as their first challengers, but I think that it's not. And commentary said the first tag team to win the AEW Tag Team Championships. Wrong, because the formation of SCU that won those tag titles was Kazarian and Scorpio, where this will be Kazarian and Chris.
But interesting, remember the tag team celebration thing FTR did a couple of weeks after the pay-per-view? SCU, that was one of the teams they singled out.
It was, you're 100% right. It was indeed. Then we obviously have our best friends come to the ring, Chuck and Trent. What a pack of lads, love them.
Yeah. Those are just backyard comedy, guys. Not my words, but
not the words of Free, but the words of FTR. Best friends are ready to throw down now if they're 20-minute brush of greatness. And I got suckered in. I thought it was about to happen, but it was a massive fake out. This was when we were about to get a match. Bam! Nah, they walk backstage. They ain't giving them a match now. They haven't earned a match yet. Not going to happen.
Yeah. Although they are ranked number one, but what does that even mean?
Clearly, when it comes to the brush of greatness, absolutely nothing. But apparently, FTR are just weenies. That's the takeaway from this. FTR, they're just weenies. We then go on to the next match. Probably the most boring match, if I'm honest.
The crowd was dead for the match.
That was literally so sad to see, because I really like Thunder Rosa. There is just no chemistry between Thunder Rosa and Hikaru Shida. And I don't know what happened in the middle of the match, but at one point when Ivelisse and Diamante had Shida, and they were trying to throw her towards like the turnbuckle at one point, like in the corner, and it just felt like some sort of weird junction where they were just spinning around. They didn't know where they were throwing each other. And I was just like, oh, come on, girls. You're so much better than this. What is this? Yeah. There was this clumsy miscommunication just after miscommunication. Like, it could have been a better match. Sadly. I would have probably preferred to have seen just, like, Thunder Rosa versus Diamante on a singles match, if I'm honest.
Probably. I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan of the Thunder Rosa Ivelisse match last week, so who knows?
Fair. I thought it was definitely one of the better women's matches. I don't know. It's a shame because like Thunder Rosa is a great wrestler. Diamante, Ivelisse are great wrestlers. Hikaru Shida, good wrestler. I feel like
maybe they just don't have the best chemistry together. I just can't feel it in those matches.
Hikaru Shida done really well against Nyla Rose, but ever since it's been kind of like, oof, and I don't know what's happened. I don't know if she's just really good in like David and Goliath style matches, but like the magic that once was there is just kind of non-existent right now. But we'll get on to the main event. But before we talk about that, we had the shocking events of literally our post match. Of Kip Sabian and Miro, Mr. Eddie Kingston, before they even get in through the tunnel. Like, Eddie's coming right out of it, like right past him.
best promo guy ever, Eddie Kingston. Holy S word. He is just amazing on the mic. Just spitting hellfires. That's how hot he is on the mic. Yeah, sets up the match. You know, he's been on and on about he was never eliminated from the Casino Battle Royal. So he's getting his title match this night. It's a match 18 years in the making, basically. 18 years says, I deserve this shot. Loved it. And he goes on, Moxley and Eddie used to be cut from the same cloth. But then Mox sold out. He became an entertainer while Eddie Kingston remained the fighter. And he didn't sell his soul to the devil. And before they have their match, he wants to look into the entertainer's eyes. Mox comes out and they just stare down each other.
They don't even get a chance to do anything violent. Like the officials, refs, everyone out in like seconds, keeping them apart. Absolutely, just pure tension. You could cut it like a hot knife for butter in that room. Beautiful. Which then brings us on to the actual match itself, which was just an absolute clanger of a match.
Remember when Eddie Kingston had the TNT title match with Cody, and I said, yeah, the match was okay?
Yeah.
This match was awesome. I loved it.
This match was just, oh god, the start was like super traditional, and then they just start chopping trees down on each other. Literally just the oh god, those goddamn chops look brutal. Absolutely brutal. It was just it was just like at one point it was just a brawl. They were like destroying timekeepers areas. Yeah. They were just going for everything. Like it was just raw aggression. And oh god, just what a brutal match. Like, but this is the thing as well. Like the commentary were very good about this as well, because they framed it as that MJF wasn't really prepared to fight Moxley's style, but Eddie Kingston is. Eddie Kingston's just as bad as Moxley when it comes to that style, and it works so well. It's just oh god, beautiful match. But the way the match ended was, I found a very interesting way to end the match again. If you want to take us through the way to finish it.
Yeah, Mox locks in the Bulldog choke, and Eddie Kingston fades. I like the finish because I feel like their story. This isn't the final chapter. There's so much to tell in this story. It could be after Mox loses the title. I could see those two feuding for like 3 months without it getting boring. Like basically a constant one-upsmanship in terms of brawling. You could frame it as Eddie Kingston is dragging the entertainer back to his roots. Yeah, I like that this wasn't a traditionally decisive finish.
It was anytime that Moxley does that choke, it always does feel like it's kind of like, it feels so much more personal. It feels so much more gritty. Like he's so good at that.
Yeah,
I just wasn't expecting it.
Yeah, and I think a knockout via via choking someone out. That's just the creme de la creme on top of the cherry on top of the street fight. So
brutal, but beautiful. Yeah. There's beautiful violence. It's not the end of this whole situation. No, we have the Lucha Bros.
We need a little bit more of a booking there.
Yeah, it's like time to get Lucha Bros out. Remember that thing that we were meant to do this week and we couldn't do it because of COVID? Let's get it done now. Lucha Bros come out and just absolutely just stomp a mud hole in him. Will Hobbs comes out to try and even up the odds, but like it doesn't work. They've still got more. Like Mr. I believe it's Ricky Starks comes out first, isn't it? Or was it?
No, it's Darby Allin who evens the odds with the skateboard, the most powerful weapon in wrestling since the sledgehammer.
Yes, my apologies. It was Darby Allin first, and then
you notice he swings a skateboard like a sledgehammer. That should tell you how potent a weapon this is.
The undeniable skateboard. Fair, but then. We have Ricky Starks coming out to uneven the odds again in the favor of Mr. Eddie Kingston. Eddie Kingston was really good here. Like, he still looked quite out of it the whole way through that sequence, which I thought was great selling on his part. Like, it was good there, but like again, the lads get the upper hand. Sadly, Darby, Will, and Mox fall to the numbers game, which is, it's understandable. We do have Brian Cage absent, but that's for reasons we'll discuss later. But then basically the show closes, and that's Dynamite for this week. Freed, how did you feel about Dynamite?
High 3, low 4. I like the show. The women's match was a bit of a downer for me, but let's go with a 4 out of 5. The rest of it was great.
I'll say about like a 3.5 out of 5, definitely. Way better than last week's Dynamite, let me tell you, by a country mile. Way better by like a country mile. Last week's Dynamite was trash. But this week was great. Enough segments there to just keep it toasty, keep me interested. Great matches, great returns, crappy women's matches. It's what we expect from a good Dynamite, I say 3.5 out of 5 for me.
Snarky John.
I am not snarky. I am just too true.
Let's go on to the news, shall we?
Yes, we will indeed.
I guess we teased it a couple of times. We should start by talking about COVID in AEW and NXT. In AEW, it was announced just on Wednesday, just an hour, maybe 2 hours before the show, that Lance Archer had to pull out because of COVID. The planned main event didn't take place because of that. Ben Carter also came out and said he was tested positive for COVID. A little bit of speculation station. Brian Cage tweeted something. He didn't confirm it, but he tweeted something that could make it plausible that he has COVID. Also, he wasn't on the show. Stu Grayson was he was missing. It's kind of weird because the whole Dark Order was out there with Evil Uno. But his tag team partner was missing. Maybe Butcher or Blade could have contracted. But that's just grand speculation station. I probably shouldn't get into this too much. I think I speak for both of us. We wish all of them a speedy recovery and I hope to see them again soon. But it does also have implication for next week's show because this week's Wednesday was a taping and Dynamite is taping batches 2 weeks for 2 weeks.
So we might see a bit of a reduced roster again next week, but hopefully this is enough time that when the recording session comes up again, we have these guys back up and running. It's not the only place that was affected by COVID, though. Much like Freed suggested earlier, WWE had another outbreak of COVID. It was believed to be from the NXT training classes that the spread happened. It is affected a few main roster guys, but not many. It's mainly affected the NXT roster, though, or the NXT trainees. Again...
Although they did say that last week's segment between Sasha Banks and Bayley was shot in the Performance Center. Maybe it wasn't and they just said it was, but they could have been exposed because that fits the time frame and that could have implications for the Clash of Champions pay-per-view happening this weekend.
Yeah. Just a terrible set of circumstances, especially coming up to pay-per-view. No one wants to see that happen, especially when you've been building a month's worth of storylines around this here. So sometimes even a few months, depending on how long your ankle's been going. Hopefully the guys get, again, I hope me and Freed obviously hope all those guys get enough medical attention, enough rest, and are fit to go, and no long-term effects from it anyway. We have heard a very, very stunning release from WWE who are actually out there saying we're going to give the guys time off, we're going to pay for their medical treatment, and then they're going to come back in once they're symptom free and have tested negative. And it's the first time we've seen WWE take such a strong verbal stance regarding this here, which is great to see. I'm glad they're taking it serious this time.
Yeah, they even ordered a quarantine for 14 days for everyone involved. They did extensive research into who was in contact with whom. So, yeah, I hope that's just not just not PR, but they actually do what they say they do.
Yeah, I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm going to side on the idea that they are. I think they've realized the health of the health of their stars is so important. So fair play. We're finally starting to see some positive action from Titan Towers, at least anyway.
And it's kind of a sad timing because some of the guys who are pulled out of WWE because they didn't want to get exposed, like Bobby Roode, Roman Reigns, or Sami Zayn, who've been coming back recently. So WWE definitely needs to act decisively there to keep those top guys from leaving again, to make a safe work environment for everyone.
Yeah, because a lot hinges on their plans for the next at least 3 months alone when it comes to that stuff. Yeah. It is going to be a bit of a sadder news week this week. Obviously, we have to give our condolences to the family of Road Warrior Animal. Mr. Laurinaitis and his family obviously have had a great loss this week. One of the biggest tag teams in the world, and we will get into that later. They did meet our criteria for the top 10, but where that is, you'll have to find out later in the podcast. And, you know, obviously, the Road Warriors have been plagued by years and years of grief and sadness, especially after the untimely passing of Mr. Hawk as well, and all of the events that led to that there. Yeah. Not the happiest tag team in the world, but definitely the one that left an indelible mark on the industry and beloved by many, including ourselves. Hopefully the family of Mr. Laurinaitis is coping okay and doing okay. Yeah. Then
sadly passed away at only 60 years old too. Like a lot of the older wrestlers dying before they reach old age. But it was reported he did die due to natural circumstances.
Sad. But
it is.
We also have.
We should lighten the mood maybe a little bit.
Should we get the? Yes, let's lighten the mood. Yeah, let's do it.
There has been a big revelation, a big unmasking this week. Monday Night Raw, we saw the final in-ring debut of Retribution. You know, have I ever told you every time I hear Retribution, I hear the lyrics to the Evolution theme song? Retribution is a mystery.
It's like we're just bringing back the vocals of Mr. Killmeister there, just to do a bit of a rework here. Okay, let's do it.
They should have stayed a mystery, if you ask me.
Yeah. Oh God. Like, does this look like booking from 2012's Dark Knight Rises, or is it just me?
Nah, dude, this looks like a mid-90s WCW booking.
Oh God, it's just the masks and everything are woof.
Remember when WCW brought in Chucky, the killer doll?
Yeah.
Didn't they have Jason or Freddy? They had Freddy, I believe.
They had Freddy at one point. Yeah. They had a lot of movie tie-ins. I think that's because of the Turner aspect of it. It was hokey as all hell. This is hokey as all hell. Oh God, their names sound like rejected ideas for TMNT characters.
T-Bar, Mace, Slapjack. Dude, T-Bar is the combo breaker because Slapjack and Mace, those are clubbing weapons. Yeah. How about you would continue with, I don't know, Morningstar, Club, Tonfa, Baton.
Claymore.
They are more clubbing weapons, but...
Baton.
Have I told you my theory, how they came up with the names?
Go for it.
And I have to preface this allegedly, okay? This is allegedly.
Yes.
Vince McMahon, you know, he's a big guy too. He trains, you know, he's lifting. He did a T-bar roast in the morning. Then he went to get his lunch. There was a female waitress, and you know he's from a different generation. He did say some things she didn't like, so she slapped him with a flapjack, and then sprayed mace in his eyes.
Jesus Christ!
Allegedly. It all harkens back to he was given the list of the guys who are in Retribution, and he reads Dominic Dija, he's T-Bar now.
He's T-Bar. It's like I can't say Dijakovic, just T-Bar. Not even, like, what the hell?
Dude. Best thing about all of this is the guys whose goal it is to destroy WWE have been given WWE contracts now officially.
Oh my
On
god!
top of the WWE contracts they already have, because those are NXT guys. All of them have WWE
Who
contracts.
writes this garbage? Oh my god! Like, it's like, oh, look at that there. The people are trying to destroy our set to take a chainsaw to the ring to smash the Transformer. Let's sign them for $300,000 a year.
My favorite line is, now that they have contracts, they can do whatever they want.
I don't think that's how contracts work.
No.
I think contracts have, like, stipulations, usually quite binding stipulations.
Yeah.
Some would even say contractual agreements in them.
Yeah. And WWE pays them, of course, now.
Oh,
I mean,
God.
they were paying them before because they were under contracts with NXT, but I guess they are not. But now they are with WWE. It's messy. Dude, should we ignore that? Do you remember how Dio Madden was written off TV?
He was, like, attacked by someone, was he not? Or
yeah, Brock Lesnar murdered him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was on commentary prior to that, right?
Yeah, when it was kind of the new era again, when they relaunched commentary.
Oh yeah, they had SmackDown change with the move to Fox, right?
Yeah, but it was on Raw. Dio Madden was on Raw, and then Vince McMahon didn't like him and threw him out after a couple of weeks. I think they brought in Jerry Lawler rather quickly after that.
Oh gosh, of course.
I think they had coached there for a week in Booker T, maybe, and then brought back Jerry Lawler. But that's a different story.
Yeah, it's a different story when it comes to commentary. I guess it's a trash angle. It's a trash angle. Oh, I can't even dignify it with, like, sincerity. Excuse me, sincerity. What a terrible piece of booking. We knew this was coming, though. We knew hot trash was being delivered. We just didn't know, like, what it was going to look like. Then we have our last bit of news. I think I'm sure it's our last bit of news for today.
We have two more news pieces.
Oh, do we have two more? My apologies. Well, what I have the Mr. Andrew Yang one.
Yeah.
Is that 2 in 1?
No, you want to talk about China.
Oh, China. Yes, we'll talk about China at some point. We'll go for the Andrew Yang one first because it kind of leads in. One can lead into the other to some extent. This is an interesting one. So you were telling me about this today. I wasn't even fully aware of the circumstances of this one.
I mean, Andrew Yang, if you don't know who he is, he ran for president of the United States this election cycle. He first piped up about WWE when the whole third party controversy began. Like, wrestlers can't use Twitch, they can't use Cameo, they can't use YouTube, stuff like that. That's when he first spoke about the independent worker, independent contractor status of WWE wrestlers. This week he talked about the Saudi Arabia, the fiasco, all of them with WWE, and he reiterated again this week that when he becomes Secretary of Labor, he will investigate the independent contractor status of the WWE guys.
This all hinges on him. Like, this all hinges on a lot of things, though. It hinges on Mr. Biden winning the actual election and not Mr. Trump, obviously. And it also hinges on Mr. Biden choosing him to be that secretary, because he might not get chosen for it. And then if he doesn't get chosen on, and he then liaises with the secretary, it's then up to that secretary to follow up more. I
think he might be already chosen. Don't quote me on that.
Okay, right. Well, I'll have to double check that. I'm not. I thought it was still to be. I thought that was still to be decided yet. So that's interesting, though. But
I mean, it's probably not set in stone, but.
Yeah,
I feel like if you run a professional campaign, you kind of have your cabinet in mind already.
Yeah, you do. I wasn't just fully aware if he was definitely going to be the one. necessarily picked for that there because I haven't really. I think it's quite an interesting one. You don't really hear them talk about their cabinets until they get the actual.
I mean,
results.
that's the politics is not the important part here, is it?
No, but I feel like we do have to frame it that this is not a guarantee this will happen. There's still things that happen yet. Which then brings us on to the next international fair that WWE.
Hold on. There's a little bit more there.
Oh, is there?
Because Andrew Yang spoke with Dolph Ziggler about the independent contractor status.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, just lay it on me.
And Dolph Ziggler said, I don't know, it was really weird, his defense of that. He said, like, if energy drink, he didn't say energy drink, I don't know, let's go with energy drink XYZ. I came up to him and said, yeah, we give you a couple $100 and a lifetime supply of energy drink to do this promotion for us. He could potentially ruin a $1 million deal WWE is working out with them. And that's the thing. And also, everywhere he goes, he is representing the company. Like, if he goes on a PR tour and stuff like that. And I'm like, this has nothing to do with the issue. This has nothing to do with the issue. A company would want their employees to represent them.
Yeah.
But you're not an employee. And if energy drink XYZ comes to an independent contractor and says, yo, here's money, do the spot. Yeah, you can do the fucking spot.
Yeah, because you're independent. That's the part. That's the independent part of independent contractor.
Yeah, if WWE wants to have all the benefits, they have to also give what they owe.
Yeah, whichever means like a substantially higher salary structure, benefits plans like healthcare or pensions,
retirement, medical benefits, stuff like that. Yeah. And then you can have the guys exclusively. Help me. Yes. That's kind of what Dolph Ziggler was getting to. Yeah. If you want to have them working for you in this kind of way, have them actually work for you as employees.
Yeah. It makes the most sense. I don't know if there's so many things we can get into. We don't know I don't know if McMahon's trying to skirt like other factors of work labor laws when it comes to unfair dismissal and whatnot. When it comes to when he wants to release people, he can because they're contracted rather than full time.
But they can't go when they want. That's so messed up.
Yeah. So it's a whole debacle right now, and we'll see how it goes. It all plays out. I think Dolph Ziggler's justification for the situation is probably a PR bullshit spin that he was given by Vince to try and mitigate something here.
I don't even think that Vince was in his ear. Dolph is a company man, I feel like.
He is, yeah, which is weird because he's not been treated with the best as a company man, to be fair. But, you know. I
mean, they give him they offer him a pretty good contract to do, like, not that much, if you get down to it.
Yeah, I guess, but, like...
He gets to do his comedy tour and stuff like that, so...
Yeah. I guess if he's happy, I guess that's the main thing, you know? Can't really fault that. Should probably go on to the next one. We were talking about international news, and our international reach of news has brought us to China, because WWE has secured a deal with Chinese distribution for their shows. Now, this is an interesting one in my mind because what can go on in China's TV and how regulated China is quite interesting, quite strict, actually.
Yeah. And they are promised simulcasts, meaning they don't get an edited version, meaning the WWE live product has to conform to certain standards.
A Chinese standard more than an American standard at this point because they're stricter.
Yeah. And I could understand if you don't simulcast it, you can give them an edited version.
Yeah.
You know?
You can take out the thing they don't want to see, you're done and dusted. Yeah. But because this is simulcast, this is 100% all in on not the pay-per-view, this is 100% all in on the content, which means that they have to then skirt around certain topics, certain angles. Retribution's angle might be a hard one to get past Chinese, Chinese boards because they're quite anti, what's the word we're looking for? Revolutionary. They're quite anti, what's the word? Like rebels. They don't like rebellions. Anything that's
Civil unrest.
Civil unrest, yeah, anything goes against the hierarchy or the infrastructure of a system, they don't like their people saying, because it might incite independent thoughts, and that kind of goes against their government's alleged control of their citizenship. I am not living in China. I'm not going to make those statements directly, but it is speculated that China's grip on their citizens is quite tight in that regard, and their censorship of their media would suggest so.
And don't forget Huskus the pig. He might be a little too close to Winnie the Pooh, so prepare to say goodbye to him.
I guess, yeah, we never really thought about that there. Huskus the pig could be the thing that destroys the contract, right? Yeah. Goddamn, Huskus the pig sinks the China deal.
Well, let's talk about how big this deal actually is, because IQIYI, that's a mouthful, they reached almost 105 million subscribers this August. So that's kind of a big reach, if you think about it.
Big reach, yeah.
105 million households, basically.
And obviously not everyone in the household's going to watch, but even if they get 10% of that audience, that's still 10 million.
The thing is, those are the subscribers collectively. This is like Sky in the UK. As far as I understand it, and wrestling will be included in their boxing and general sports packages. So I don't know how many of those 105 million households have those, but that's just a ballpark number for you.
Even if you had like casual viewers coming on, again, of 100-odd million, like 10% I feel like is a bit of a stretch, but that's still 10 million. Even if they got 2%, that's 2 million people watching.
Even if they got 1%, that's still better than nothing.
Yeah, it's still a substantial amount of people putting eyes on the product, which means it could potentially put more people in seats during live tours if we ever get them kicked off again, merch sales, all of that stuff. So very big deal for WWE, but a very interesting one while we see how the creative then pans out.
We don't know how much IQIYI is paying them. That's the interesting thing.
I feel like that
because if you say if they have to change their shows substantially, how much China money really justifies changing the product for the entire world?
Look at Saudi Arabia. That should be our guidance on that one.
Yeah, but that's 2 pay-per-views a year.
Yeah, like even if they were getting Saudi money, like
For China money, they would have to change every SmackDown and Raw.
So I'd say it would have to be on par with China, with like Saudi money.
I don't think they are paying this much. I can't see them pay that much money.
Maybe they won't get that much money up front, but what they'll get is that it's the dividends off merch sales and stuff.
Might be, but think about that. Fox paying them $2 billion.
That's never happening again.
Yeah, that's not happening. But like, Fox will have to. They want to have a say, like in how the show pans out.
Yeah.
Like, China money cannot trump Fox's word in how the product should look, right?
That's true. Yeah. This is going. I feel like the creative team are going to be in the biggest bind here. The creative team are going to have to. It's already murky waters they're navigating under Vince's creative regime. Now they're going to have like 2 Vinces technically, maybe even 3.
Yeah. But Brother Love will be in the bind, and not Brother Love. The Brother Love.
Brother Love, yeah. Yeah, I can't even remember. I'm blanking his real name as well.
Bruce Pritchard.
Bruce Pritchard, yes, thank you.
No, it was just, is it Dude Love? Which one is Mick Foley?
Which one has love, but it's not like a big red-faced man? Who's not
the great red-faced man that has love, but it's not Mick Foley.
It's not. But Freed, man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, the man of many triple Fs, the fried one, the freed one, the frosting on your cake. I think you got a bit of hotness for us. Why don't you try and take us into the next segment?
I never prepare an intro for this, and I always think I should. But let's just let's just go for it. Hey YouTube, this is the Powerbotch Podcast. Welcome to another edition of Top 10. Today we will be talking about the top 10 tag teams up to the year 2010 because we want to do a future top 10 list of the best modern tag teams. Why are we talking about tag teams this week? Because we review AEW, and AEW has the best tag division on the planet right now. So let's not talk about the tag teams in AEW, but talk about the best tag teams of the past. How about we start with number 10?
Number 10 is the Mega Powers. Oh, that's
What?
right. I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying to yourself, like, wait, what? The Mega Powers? Mr. Hogan? Mr. Savage?
But Mr. Viking Gaming, the Mega Powers only ever wrestled together in 3 2-on-2 tag team matches together. How could they possibly be the best tag team of all time?
Well, let me tell you, IWC, when you look at the actual foundation of the Mega Powers, you have two of the top talents of the 80s, the golden era of wrestling, two world champions, past, and I think at that point even present. I believe Mr. Savage might have been the current champion at the time as well.
Yeah,
and
he was.
You factor in that they done a year's long worth of booking, even though it may have had only 3 in-ring matches that were televised for that tag team. The amount of storytelling that was produced for that tag team across both WrestleManias was astounding. This was the first time we ever seen proper long-term booking in a tag team scenario, and you could argue was the blueprint when it came to designing the actual storylines for modern-day tag team storylines, such as the Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page storyline.
Ooh, my.
That is why they are number 10 on our tag teams of all time between 1985 and 2010.
Number 9. One of them performs the worst spear in wrestling history. The other one has a finisher some say should have been on our top 10 worst finishers list. We're talking about Edge and Christian. Just like the Mega Powers, they didn't really team that long together, only 1998 to 2001 and a little bit in 2009 to 2011, but they left an impact, a big impact. WWE actually named them the greatest tag team in WWE history in 2012. That might be debatable. The Wrestling Observer called them the Tag Team of the Year 2000. They are 7 times WWE Tag Team Champions. They were part of the TLC matches, some of the best matches in WWE, period. I don't need to tell you how great Edge and Christian were. They were great in the ring. They were funny as heck. Both of them went on to have incredibly great singles career. Do I need to say more?
No, I think that says it all. Edge and Christian, which brings us to number 8, the Brainbusters. And oh yes, we're throwing it back. We're getting old school with this. We're even tantalizing you with half of the 4 horsemen in Tully Blanchard and Arn Anderson, arguably the most solid in-ring workers of the 80s and 90s. The Brainbusters basically took core fundamental tag team wrestling and created the actual blueprint of modern day fundamentals as we know it when it comes to tag teams. They were masters of the spike pile driver, insidious heels who managed to get you so angry that you would almost cause riots. They were brilliant tacticians and always made sure that they were putting over their baby faces in the best way possible. People like FTR today and other great tag teams owe so much to the Brainbusters when it comes to the aspects of fundamentals and how they're executed well can draw out massive amounts of heat. Now, we obviously saw them as theoretically part of the Horsemen in WCW. They then became the Brainbusters as they joined WWE or WWF at the time, so a little bit of a name change depending on what part of the era you want to look at. Sadly, we're split up though when they left WWF. That was because of Jim Herd and his machinations to try and get cheaper talent. And after Tully, he failed a drugs test. Basically,
Allegedly. I don't know if it's allegedly.
He's admitted it. He's actually said on AEW Unrestricted that he was basically used as a means to try and get a cheaper deal out of Mr. Arn Anderson because Jim Herd knew that the cost of Arn Anderson would come rightly down if he didn't have Tully with him. He was buying a package deal. If he only takes one in, he could get less money for him. So even though they were kind of screwed over and their time in the limelight was cut very short by unfortunate circumstances in regards to drugs and alcohol, we did still get one of the best tag teams in the world that are still reigned on today's. All of their praises are coming down on FTR's faces, and we'll see the fruits of that extended labor hopefully over the coming months. Which brings us to number 7.
Number 7. Before, Scott Steiner was known as a professor and a genetic freak. He used to team with his brother Rick. 1988 to 1999 was their prime time as a tag team. They teamed up together in TNA in the mid-2000s a little bit, and you can spot them on the indie circuit these days sometimes. What we're talking about, the Steiner brothers in the 90s. Both guys with a collegial amateur wrestling background. Those are big guys, big guys who have the technique, they have the speed, they have the power. You could see like those big lads do high flying moves like the Frankensteiner, top rope Hurricane Rana, who's impressive back then, and the Steiners have the record to back up the legacy. A 7-time NWA WCW champion, 2 times WWE Tag Team champion, Pro Wrestling Illustrated Tag Team of the Year 1990-1993. Steiner Brothers, total package when it comes to tag team wrestling, combining the old grounded wrestling with a more modern high flying style. Awesome.
I couldn't have said it better myself. They're pretty much the archetypes of big bruisers when it comes to the tag team division, I would say. The biggest bruisers. And they went on to have, Mr. Scott, you're right, went on to have a wonderfully great teaching career doing math. He was very good at one point in educating new wrestlers on how to actually get the outcomes of matches, especially if your name was Samoa Joe. You got such a great math course at one point.
Don't muddy the waters. We will get to Steiner's promo eventually.
Yeah, we'll get to that promo eventually.
No, a slight tangent. Go to YouTube, Google on YouTube, Scott Steiner versus the English language. You won't be disappointed.
I'm going to do that later, let me tell you. I did not know that was a thing. I'm doing that later.
Number 6.
We have number 6, which I think is it's a tag team close and dear to your heart, Mr. Freed. Am I right in saying so?
One of my favorite wrestlers is in this tag team.
It is the Los Guerreros. And for anyone who doesn't know who that is, then are you under a rock? It's none other than the timeless and virtuous, the lying, cheating, stealing son of a gun of Mr. Eddie Guerrero and his nephew, Chavo Guerrero.
That's right.
And admittedly, one of the more younger teams in our selection, but even though they had maybe a shorter time frame, basically going from 2002 to 2004, they managed to leave an indelible mark on the industry. Previously World Wrestling WCW champions, technically in 1998, but I don't think they went under the name Los Guerreros at that time. But then we had their runs in basically as the tag team champions in 2002, 2003. You're talking about the Guerreros, literally a wrestling dynasty, one of the most famous names in Mexican wrestling. We all know and love them. I mean, Eddie Guerrero is still lost and is still thought about to this day. The loss of him is left an unfillable void in wrestling. Just one of the best wrestlers of all time. And that's not to say Chavo wasn't. Chavo was a phenomenal wrestler as well. These days, though, he's more of a producer on shows like what's it called again? It's it's a Netflix show. He's been doing the producing for that there. Leave it to me to forget key details.
I'm sorry, I can't help you up there. But let's talk about Los Guerreros a little bit, because the gimmick there, the Alaya Cheetah Steel gimmick, is what propelled Eddie Guerrero to the main event. He feuded with Chavo after they split up the team, Royal Rumble 2004. Following this pay-per-view, just a couple of months later, No Way Out, he defeated Brock Lesnar to become WWE champion for the first time, defended his title at WrestleMania against Kurt Angle with his lying, cheating ways to a thunderous applause. That's how I remember him.
Just an amazing wrestler, and obviously a legacy left behind, especially when it comes to the tag team division. Something that we couldn't overlook, hence why we have them as our undeniable number 6. But we got number 5 now.
Number 5, we're talking about the 10-time, imagine I said 10-time WCW Tag Team Champions, Harlem Heat. Booker T and his brother Stevie Ray wrestled together from 1989 to 2000. Like I mentioned, captured the WCW Tag Team Championships a whopping 10 times, named Tag Team of the Year 1995 and 1996. And let me tell you this: if you only know Booker T from his run in WWE, go back, watch him in WCW. This guy can work. This guy is a workhorse. And so is Stevie Ray. Those guys can go in the ring.
They had a bit of tribulations and trials during their event as well. At one point, they had a bit of a breakup where they fought over the rights of the word T. So, like any sort of tag team, they were kind of disbanded at one point and were at pretty much loggerheads with each other. But, you know, they were still probably a game. The crown, one of the crown jewels of WCW's tag team division, undeniably so. Again, with 10 title runs in WCW alone, and bear in mind, it's 10 times before even WWE exists for Mr. Booker T. That's an incredible stat when it comes to tag team. When it comes to tag team gold, anyway, in any organization, especially for the limited run they had in WCW. But it brings us to
number 4.
Brings us number 4, which is it's the Hardy Boys. Honestly, the pretty much literally the other half of the coin that is Edge and Christian was the Hardy Boys. We were introduced to them pretty much in limited roles prior to their actual debut as funny enough, the King of the Ring. They were the Squire Boys opening the doors at the King of the Ring previously. However, their first run was theoretically, I think around 1997, 1998. I mean, they'd been going pretty much from 1993, but their WWE debut was closer to 1998. They were the other third of the original TLC match, one of the greatest matches, tag team matches of all time.
Sorry to add something that you mentioned the other side of Edge and Christian. Edge and Christian were kind of debuted alongside Gangrel as the Brood, and then Edge, Matt Hardy, and Jeff Hardy came in as the New Brood,
following the same path. Yeah,
they had a lot of similarities starting out.
And they ended up like basically having this ongoing feud with the Edge and Christian when it came to a lot of things. I mean, stuff like the services of wasn't Trish, it was the other Holly. Oh my god, why do I always forget names? I'm the worst. Terry Reynolds. They had the Terry Reynolds.
Dude, I did think about writing that down in my notes, and then I'll remember.
But we have plenty of times where they are pretty much like head to head with Edge and Christian. Another time again is the Terry Reynolds angle where they were fighting for the services of Terry Reynolds. They made their debut by ambushing Edge and Christian as part of the New Brood. Again, you can't think Edge and Christian unless you have the Hardy Boys in there. They are very much a fundamental key factor of the tag team division in WWE post 1998. Even beyond their tag team division, we had a lot of interlocked connectivity with Edge and Christian, especially with Mr. Matt Hardy, with the ill-fated angle of Lita and the cheating angle that was then portrayed on screen. I think we discussed as one of the worst angles that we've ever seen in WWE, but it was still a massive angle nonetheless. their actual work not even limited to WWE either. They had major, if not much success in TNA as well as part of a tag team, as well as Ring of Honor. But we can't really get into too much with that there because some of that does happen post 2010. However, the formation of a tag team did happen in 1993, and the majority of their work happened in the 2000s.
Yeah. And 2 times Impact champions, 8 times WWE Tag Team champions, high-flying, death-defying, ladder match, revolutionizing Hardy Boys. Gotta love them.
Love them.
Number 3, the Rock and Roll Express. Robert Gibson, Ricky Morton. They formed in 1983, and they're still wrestling together. Almost 38 years wrestling together as a team. Yeah, they had on and off again different partners, but they're still together. We just saw them a couple of weeks ago on Dynamite. Formed in Memphis by Jerry Lawler. They were high flyers par excellence for their time. Just just think back, 1983. What kind of matches did you see? If you saw the Rock and Roll Express go, you wouldn't believe your eyes. They could go. I mean, if you squint a little, you could almost imagine you're seeing a Young Bucks match. Just in the 80s, they are that good. If you haven't seen a match of the Rock and Roll Express and think, oh yeah, old school wrestling is just boring, it's just worked punches and rest holds, and then you see a leg drop, and that's the big move of the match. Nah, the Rock and Roll Express will defy your opinion of what's old school wrestling. Had a long rivalry with the Midnight Express with Mr. Jimnet Cornette.
Jimnet Cornette.
They have been 2 times NWA champions. Pro Wrestling Illustrated named them Tag Team of the Year in 1986, and because they spent a long chunk of their career in Smoky Mountain, they captured the Smoky Mountain Tag Team belts 10 times. It's no small feat.
That is quite a feat. That is an incredible feat. Jesus. And you could argue that they are pretty much the blueprint of the Young Bucks to this very day. Like, I mean, the attire they wore is very much carried on by the Young Bucks at this point. Like, they have like the tassels and the flamboyant gear that they have. Like, it is pretty much Young Bucks are a revival, pardon the pun, of these guys. I say pun because obviously we have the revival currently in a different name, but you know what I mean. But we pretty much, the Young Bucks are the revival of the Rock and Roll Express.
Just like FTR are the revival of the Brandmasters. Yeah, we've talked about this.
Yeah,
but how about we talk about number 2?
Oh, what a rush! We have the Road Warriors, or if you're not familiar with the Road Warriors outside of WWE, the Legion of Doom. These guys were pretty much intensity on wheels with their wonderfully, how would you even describe them? Like, just poetry and pure promo form, Paul Ellering. They were essentially the biggest, baddest, most aggressive guys on the block when it came to tag team wrestling. They were not just satisfied with domination of the tag teams in the Americas. They had a historic career across the world, including in parts of Japan, Jim Crockett's version of the WCW, as well as WWE. These guys even went to New Japan at one point during the 90s. They were all over the world, and they were actually billed as the Hellraisers while over in New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. Slight name change there, but just a little bit of insight for you. They first started in 1983, and they went right up to 2014. However, it's not all great, even though there was a lot of amazing angles and amazing matches for Warriors. There was sadly the alcohol problems that Mr. Hawk did face throughout his time as one of the Road Warriors, which ended up leading to pretty much the demise of the original run of the Road Warriors at one point. We then had Draws join in at LOD 2000, which was arguably not the worst version of LOD because, you know, that's still yet to come. But it did kind of make for Hawk's retirement from the business, and it was never really the same. And then we had it besmirched even more by LOD 2005 with Heidenreich. So even though we did have a little bit of a bumpy road towards the end, the careers of Mr. Hawk and Mr. Animal were well cemented throughout their run between 1983 to at least 1998. Hell of a run.
Yeah. Named Tag Team of the Year 1983 to 85, again 1988. Hall of Famers everywhere. Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, NWA Hall of Fame, WWE Hall of Fame. Legit one of the greatest tag teams of all time. But number one, they are 9-time WWE champion, 8-time ECW champion, 3-time Impact champion, 2-time IWGP champion, 1-time WCW champion, Tag Team of the Year 2001 and 2009, Tag Team of the Decade 2002-2009, voted by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Hall of Fame acceptance speech, best ever, I have to say. Need I say more? D1, get the tables!
Oh.
The Dudleys. The most decorated tag team in wrestling history. Just speaking for myself, my favorite tag team of all time.
You could argue.
Bubba Ray is a gifted talker. He is a monster on the mic. They are both beefy guys who know how to work in the ring, and they've just managed to create a legacy that is you can't compare that to anything. If you think about tables, you can't help but think about the Dudleys.
Innovators of violence, you would almost call them. And when you think about it, we talked about Edge and Christian and the Hardy Boys being two sides to one coin. The Dudley Boys could be argued the third sign of the mythical three-sided coin when it comes to that. They're the other half of the TLC match, probably one of the best WrestleMania matches ever had. They were pretty much the core foundation of what led to some of the best freeway rivalries during the 1998 to about 2002 onward. Incredible wrestlers, but not just incredible wrestlers in a tag team. Bubba Ray Dudley, who went on to be known as Bully Ray after he left WWE, went on to a historic career in Impact, including holding the Impact World Championship at a time, and leader and founding member of the Aces and Eights. Hell of a run.
Yeah.
Devon was probably not as gifted in his singles run as he could be.
Dude, I've always thought that Bubba Ray was the great talker, but this is getting back to the Hall of Fame acceptance speech. If you haven't seen that, watch that. Devon has a silver tongue.
Oh,
nobody knew.
He's incredible, and this is the worst part about it. Like, he was given the Reverend gimmick, and I'm like, he should be so much better than this. He could be so much better than this. And he is! He's so much better than that.
But, both of them, however their singles run went, they were best when they were working together. And the moment Bubba Ray or Bully Ray, or however he called him that instant, the moment he pointed at his brother, you could be sure an entire arena would shout the same thing.
Get the tables.
Yes, get the tables indeed.
Guys, that is our top 10 when it comes to the best tag team wrestlers between 1985 and 2010. If you agree, great. If you don't, though, let us know in the comments down below. Who do you think we left off the list? Who do you think could have been different? Who do you think could have been number one, if not the Dudleys? Do you think that the inclusion of the Mega Powers is a little bit silly? I think no, but you might be different. But let us know in the comments section down below. I have to say, Freed, I think it's came to that time of the day.
Yeah, it has.
I think it's time to love the stream and leave them. I think it's time to end the podcast. Guys, my name has been John. I've been very, very thankful to be joined by Freed. And this has been the Powerbotch Podcast. If you have enjoyed the podcast, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Let us know if you're enjoying it. Do it. I want you to finger the shit out of that like button. That way, we understand that you're liking the segments and you want to see more of the stuff we talked about today. But if you want to check us out more, of course you can. Let me tell you about it, right? Do you know this thing called twitch.tv? Well, if you just put a little bit of a /Freed_1, you can check out Freed when he goes live and does some awesome streams. You want to see my ugly mug? Well, you can see it as well by putting a little / after that twitch.tv. Put a little bit of a it's PVG in there, and you got yourself all sorts of stupidity, probably the worst stuff you'll watch on the channel, if I'm honest. But you can also check us out on Twitter. I'm at OdinPVG on Twitter. I'm still trying to convince Freed to be more active and use a Twitter. We'll get into that at some point. He'll be there on Twitter.
I forgot about that.
So we'll get him on the Twitter at some point, guys. But regardless, we loved having you here. But we gotta love you. We gotta leave you. But we will see you on the next podcast. Have a good night, a good day, a good evening, where the hell you are. And what do you say? What do we say here, Freed?
Peace.
Damn right.